Thank you. Kenneth? Please keep the answers as short as possible.
I'll be really short. We have our work cut out, and I don't think there will be a global treaty, prohibitive treaty on lethal autonomous weapons, and I'd put skin in the game on that. There's too much in that escalation, in that arms race dynamic that I spoke about previously. So what do we have to do if we can't have the equivalent of a non-proliferation treaty for AI? I think we have to tend to our own garden and decide what AI we want in our neck of the woods. And for me, that's liberal Western Europe. And we have to decide how we relate to the technologies that we develop and instrumentalize. And actually, I think we have a good news story, because the values of Western liberal societies are the same values that have produced some of the innovation, some of the good things that AI will do for us. And so there's reason to be positive.
Thank you. Patricia?
I would start negotiations. I'm a great believer in just getting on with things. And I think that negotiations in themselves actually create an avenue for deepening understanding about where people's fears lie, where they might be able to go. And if I were to outline the key elements of a legal instrument, I would go for a normative one-re outcomes, a restraints on control, and then transparency on biases and the results from testing.
Thank you. Thompson, please.
Thank you very much, but my thanks also goes, to Austria and Ambassador for organizing this, very important meeting. Of course, I've not been asked to give a vote of thanks, but I thought I should say that. In terms of what next, I would say I think states really need to move urgently for negotiation of a legally binding instrument on autonomous weapon systems. I see the co-panelists made out, for example, whether we can be able to do that, but my point there is to say the fact that a few states may not want to be part of that should not stop us from negotiating that legally binding instrument. As she was rightfully saying, once you have a treaty, it can be a teaching instrument itself, even for those who may not want to be part for it. So the fact that 2-3 states may not want it shouldn't be for the world, the international community, to say that is impossible, because it's not. Lastly, I would just want also to just urge particularly, excellencies from the global South states to particularly, especially make submissions to the UN Secretary General's call in the General Assembly on their views on that particular aspect, so that at least all constituencies are involved. And in terms of the other constituencies, which I think should also be included, are intergovernmental human rights institutions. I think, especially across the globe, it is important to involve them on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Ellen, please.
Global dynamics are changing. My students are galvanized by one state that took up a leadership position and is really charting the way forward, and that is South Africa, when it stood up at the International Court of Justice. South Africa explained what authentic international law really requires in situations of armed conflict and mass human rights atrocities. If South Africa and other countries equally committed, like Costa Rica, to the international rule of law, go to the General Assembly and begin the negotiation of this treaty, we will have a treaty. And the countries that don't sign up because they think they've got some kind of advantage in their technology are on the wrong side of history.
Thanks. Thompson made the point that we hope that many countries from the Global South will report to the Secretary General. That was also an answer to my question about which constituencies to reach out, but I had intended also more societal constituencies, but anyway, we don't really have a chance to go into that anymore, because we want to use the time for posing a couple of questions from the audience to you. I have a question here from the Mexican delegation that goes as follows. Would you agree that failing to prohibit and regulate autonomous weapon systems could set a dangerous precedent insofar that humanity would be off-centered in its relations with technology. Who would like to take this? Emilia, please.
Yeah, I'm happy to take this.
You didn't. Okay, I try it again. Do we need to prohibit and regulate autonomous weapon systems because otherwise it would be a dangerous precedent that humanity would be off-centered in its relations to technology? Emilia, please.
Yeah, so we think about this a lot because in our DNA as an organization, we're not a disarmament organization, we're a technology organization. And when we think about AI as a technology, this is the most powerful technology humanity will ever develop. It's going to touch every aspect of our lives and every aspect of our society. And to Patricia's point, there's robust conversations about where do we draw lines with AI in civilian applications, be it self-driving cars, be it algorithmic bias in job hiring. And yet there's this conversation that's completely disconnected, which is, are we going to let AI decide to kill people? Right? And so if we as a global society want to ensure that our future with AI is a positive one and that we are unlocking all of that benefit and not realizing the downside, if we can't get this decision right, we're dooming all of those other decisions we have to make on the civilian side about what are acceptable and unacceptable uses of the technology. So to me, this is a very critical moment on the targeting of people.
Thank you.
Could I just jump in briefly on that point? And I'll just recall what Harold Coe said yesterday. This is what lawyers do. We take hard problems, we take the technological difficulties, and we turn them into legally binding instruments that set standards, educate, create, and support. They don't create. Norms come to us through our cultures, through our various philosophical and religious beliefs. Law operationalizes them and brings them to the common bond for all people, but that's what we do. And for those who think it's too hard a problem for lawyers to solve, that's not what our field shows in our great success. We have created some very, the Biological Weapons Convention, the Chemical Weapons Convention. We can do this.
Thanks a lot. I have here a question, I don't know by whom. The wars have increased the defense markets and the economy of some countries. Is not being involved in the AWS markets acceptable for these countries?
Can you say that again?
Sorry. Again, the wars have increased the defense markets and the economy of some countries. Is not being involved in the AWS markets acceptable for these countries? Is there an autonomous weapon system market?